Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's AID-ucate where we are committed to simplifying concepts and ensuring success. We will have a series of videos on fractions. This very first one is just to give you some basic facts about fractions, what they are, what they look like, the different forms they can take, and so on. So enjoy! So basically, we want to start with sharing with you some general information about fractions. If you're going to learn to work with fractions, it's important to, I guess, understand what they are, how they work, what they mean. So in this case, we wanted to just break it down. And this is common knowledge. It's two numbers separated by a line. So one number on top of another number. The number on top is called
The numerator
right, and the number at the bottom.
is called the denominator.
All right, so basically what we're showing you is a picture of what this fraction really is. So 5 tells us the whole, but not just the whole, it tells us that we have divided the whole or the entire cake or bulla into 5 equal parts. So 5 tells us that the whole cake has been cut into 5 equal parts, or denominators can change. It depends on how you want to cut or share something that is a whole thing, then that number would become your denominator. In this case, our denominator is 5 because we have cut our cake into how many equal parts?
5.
5 equal parts. Our numerator now tells us the amount.
How many we have taken?
Yeah, how many we've taken, how many we want to take out, how many we want to eat. So our numerator tells us how much of that entire cake or bulla we are working with at the time. So in this case, a 3/5 or a 3/5, which is a fraction, means 3 pieces out of the 5 pieces that would make up the whole cake. Get me? Understand? Yeah. So we can move on. Again, we want to teach you something else. Now, this is called a proper fraction. Why is it a proper fraction?
Because the numerator is not more than the denominator.
Exactly. A proper fraction is when our numerator is less than our denominator. So this is a proper fraction. Then we have a fraction where the numerator is the same as the denominator. So anytime you see the numerator and the denominator being the same, it basically means
that there's none left.
That there's one whole. So if you were saying 5 pieces out of the 5 slices, as Carol and I said, if you took 5 pieces out of the 5 slices, you took the whole thing, so there would be none left. But anytime you see the numerator and the denominator being the same number, it represents the whole thing, the whole cake, the whole cookie. Next, improper fraction.
Now, you see, improper fractions, they're not like proper fractions. They're like, how do I say this? The opposite.
Yeah. So in this case, the numerator is?
The numerator is 7 and the denominator is 5.
And so what's weird about it is that the numerator is more than the denominator. So in this case, if you had a cake, you cut it up into 5 slices and the fraction says 7 slices out of 5 slices, you're going to need more cake because one cake can only give you those 5 slices. So to have a fraction that says 7/5 means you're going to need some more slices. So you're going greater than a whole. So that's why we showed you those pictures there. 5 slices from the first cake and an additional 2 slices from another cake gives you 7 slices from 2 cakes that were cut into 5 slices each.
But you can also turn an improper fraction to a mixed fraction.
Yes, and we're going to look at that a little bit later, but this is what a mixed fraction would look like. Kind of like, as KJ said, improper fraction, but it just looks a little bit different where we don't want to keep that numerator being heavier or greater than the denominator. So we represent it as a whole and then represent the extra slices as a proper fraction. So a mixed fraction has 2 parts, this part being the whole number and this part being the proper fraction. So it's 1, we're still saying our cake is being sliced into 5 equal slices each, but 1 cake, we have a whole cake, but then on the other cake, we have 4 slices shaded out of the 5. And so that's a mixed fraction. Now let's go to working on converting a mixed fraction, an improper fraction to a mixed fraction. How are we going to do this, KJ?
First, like if you see this 7 and there's 5 down below, you can take away 5 from 7, which will give you 2 left. So that would be already be 1 whole, and then the top would be 2 because there's 2 left, and then the bottom would be 5. Some people still won't understand it though.
So in other words, having 7 as our numerator and 5 as our denominator tells us that this is an improper fraction because our numerator is greater than our denominator. So what Carol and I did was we started by focusing on our denominator. Our denominator tells us how many slices we have cut our cake into. And it can be anything else, don't worry. But we have something that's a whole cake, a whole cookie. But we have decided this 5 tells us how we have divided it or shared it up or cut it up.
So the 5 already tells us that the numerator that we get at the denominator that we get at the end is still 5.
Yeah, we are going to keep 5 as our denominator. So basically, we are looking at how to change, and we're going to just go back through this very quickly. 7 slices out of 5 slices. As Carolina said, if we were to take 5 slices out of 5 slices, we would automatically have a whole. But they actually said there were 7. So we are left with an extra 2. So yes, 1. So and our extra 2 slices out of 5. Another way that, another common way that is done in school is to look at our line here as a division sign. And so an easy way to turn a improper fraction into a mixed fraction is to just look at the line between our numbers as a division sign. 7 divided by 5 is equal to 1 remainder 2. Our remainder 2 is now our fraction. It's 2 out of 5.
2, or you could say 1 whole 2/5.
Right. Next, so we're doing the opposite this time, and we put pictures there for you to help you to see, but you know, you won't always be able to draw the picture. So the trick is to learn how to convert. So this time we have 1 4/5, and we want to represent that as an improper fraction. How do we do that? Well, what we can do is we can break it up into two parts. The 1 represents 1 whole. And if it's 1 whole, that basically, our 5 here as usual tells us how much it was divided into. So our 1 whole is what as a fraction? And we talked about this just a while ago.
1 whole equals 5 over 5.
Exactly. And 4 over 5 remains 4 over 5.
And then
So we need to just put them together. If we have 5 over 5 and an additional 4 over 5, so we have 5 over 5, 4 over 5, in all we have 9 over 5. But that's just one way to look at it. Another way we do it in school is we multiply here, multiply across, and then add at the top. So it's 5 times 1 and then plus 4. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. And we still, as usual, we always keep our denominator. Correct. Equivalent fractions is something else we want to talk about. Equivalent fractions mean they don't look the same, they don't have the same denominator, they don't have the same numerator, but they actually mean the same thing.
Yeah.
On the left, we have 4 over 5, meaning our cake was cut into 5 equal slices and we've shaded 4 parts, right? On the right, we have the same cake, same size, but this time instead of cutting it into 5 equal slices, we cut it into 10. And then we shaded 8. If you look closely, the shaded region on the right is the same as the shaded region on the left. 4 over 5 is the same thing as 8 over 10. 4/5 is equal to 8/10.
Just like...
Okay, guys. So I hope this video was helpful with fun facts about fractions. All right. See you soon.